we've just been working on a new song, and Joseph was playing the chorus from it just then. And it's going to be a lovely song. We're almost finished. But did you know, songwriters, that you can find inspiration from the Psalms in the Scriptures for your new songs? We're starting a new format where we are going to share with you 3 videos a week where we're going to go through the songwriting process from finding inspiration in the Scriptures to having lyric lines and setting them to melody and even bringing it to a complete song. So this week we're going to take you on this adventure with us as we're starting with Scriptures in Psalm 84.
First, we will look at some of the verses in Psalm 84, which is rich with various themes that have inspired multiple songs. Mm-hmm. There is always more to glean from these powerful, heartfelt lines given to us by worship leaders in the time of King David's reign. Worship was so vitally important to David that he instituted 24-hour worship in the temple. Many of these ministers wrote songs for the people to sing in order to worship and receive new revelation of God and His goodness.
That's right, Joseph. So comment with the word song if you would like to learn more about inspiration for your songs from the Psalms.
Psalm 84 begins with adoration for God and longing to be in His presence. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord of heaven's armies! I long, yes, I faint with longing to enter the courts of the Lord. With my whole being, body, and soul, I will shout joyfully to the living God. That is Psalms 84, verses 1 and 2 in the New Living Translation.
Amen, amen. So we can focus on one theme from these scriptures and begin to develop a verse for a new song. For example, we're going to begin with the theme of longing for God's presence, as you heard in those 2 verses. So for longing for God's presence, we can take that line, my soul yearns, even faints for the courts of the Lord. So that is really great to just bring the listener or the singer into an intimate song, really drawing close to the Lord.
Right.
So you can rephrase this to say, how my soul longs for the courts of the Lord. So that brings it a little more modern than even the New Living Translation for that verse.
Right. Next, you can use imagery like thirst, homesickness, and desire for God. My heart cries out for something more, or my heart is thirsting for much more.
Oh, that's good, Joseph. I like that. My heart is thirsting. So there's that thirst that we were saying. You could use that to have some imagery there. When you think of someone who's thirsty, you might imagine someone just kind of crawling across the desert saying, water, water. They're so thirsty that they're just barely hanging on, But that's how it is when we're longing for God's presence, right? We're so thirsty in our souls. That's so good. Or you can use more modern phrasing. We have this line, with my whole being, body, and soul, I will shout joyfully to the living God. Now, you can use all of that if you want to, but if we want to do something more modern sounding and kind of shorten that concept, you can say, every part of me is yearning to give you praise.
Yes.
So that really makes it easier to imagine that being a song line, right, Joe?
Yes.
Than that long, long verse that we had there.
The next verse can even add more depth to the theme of longing for God's presence. Even the sparrow finds a home, and the swallow builds her nest and raises her young at a place near your altar, O Lord of heaven's armies, my King and my God. That's verse 3 of Psalms 84 in the New Living Translation.
Wow, that's beautiful. So that really immediately brings pictures to your mind, the way the psalmist described that he's longing to be at home with the Lord, where the Lord's presence is.
Right.
So even a sparrow can have a nest. She has a home, and a swallow builds her nest. If you've ever seen that process of a swallow building a nest, it's amazing. And so they want to even be close to the altar of the Lord. The psalmist is saying, how beautiful. So even creation longs for God. That's so good. So you can take the phrase, even a sparrow finds a home, and create a new line like this. Even the smallest ones find rest in you. So a sparrow, is a very small bird, but even those that we think are insignificant, everyone, no matter who you are, you can find rest in God, in His presence. So that's such a beautiful concept. So that's what we want in our songs, where people can relate and say, hey, that sounds like me. The flowery language, I don't know if that sounds like me, but when someone says, even the smallest ones can find rest in you, then everybody can relate to that, right?
Yes.
That's so good.
We hope you enjoyed learning about lyric writing. In our next video, we will set these lines to music with a melody and some chords.